I've known my brother-in-law's family for as long as I can remember. My sister got married when I was really young. There's a big age gap between us. Growing up, I spent a lot of time at her in-laws' house. Everyone there was kind and welcoming, except for one person, his grandma. She lived with them. She had struggled with mental illness for most of her life. Her husband used to take care of her, but after he passed, the family looked after her. I was never outright scared of her, but there was always something unsettling. A presence that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I never understood why, and I was never alone with her, until one night. That night, my whole family had to go to the airport to receive a relative in the middle of the night. I was asleep, and maybe they didn't want to wake me. So, they left me in the house, with her. Alone. I wish I had slept through the night. But I didn't. I woke up in the dark. At first, I wasn't sure what stirred me, but then I heard it, her voice. Loud. Yelling. Coming from her room. She wasn't just talking, she was arguing. With someone who wasn't there. My heart started pounding. The house was completely dark. The only other sound was stray dogs barking outside. I turned on the light in my room, then walked down the hallway and flipped on the night lights and TV. Her voice carried into the hallway. She was furious, yelling at someone, accusing a woman of ruining her life. I was frozen in fear. Minutes later, my family returned. I didn't say anything then, but the next morning, I told my mom everything. My mom looked at me with tired eyes and told me the story. Years ago, when the grandma was pregnant with her second child, her husband had to travel out of town. While he was gone, someone told her that he was cheating on her with another woman. That's when everything changed. Her mind started to unravel. She was never the same. My mom believed that night, the grandma was yelling at that woman, the one she believed destroyed her life. From that night on, I made a rule for myself. I would only visit their house during the daytime, never at night. A few months later, she passed away. We all went to the house for the funeral. It was the day before the burial, and we had to stay the night. I had no excuse. I couldn't just tell my mom I was scared. That night, we all settled in different rooms to sleep. I tried to calm myself down, told myself nothing would happen. But around 2 a.m., I felt a touch on my feet. I froze. I knew. I quickly pulled the blanket over my head, heart racing. After a few seconds, I peeked out. Everyone was asleep. Only a dim light glowed from the hallway. There was no one else. I eventually fell back asleep, but what followed has haunted me ever since. I dreamed of her crawling toward me, in that same bedroom, on the same floor. I woke up in a sweat. I couldn't take it anymore. I called my dad, who had to work that night, and begged him to come get me. I left that house before sunrise. I didn't attend the funeral, but the nightmare didn't stop. Every night for the next few days, I had the same dream. If I slept in my mom's room, the dream happened there. If I slept in mine, it followed me. She followed me. Eventually, I told my mom everything. She sat down, looked around the room, and spoke out loud. She said, "Please, don't come to my child in dreams again. Please let them be." And just like that, the dream stopped. But even now, years later, I get chills when I think about that house, about her, and about what I saw, heard, and felt. Some people say spirits don't linger, but I know. Some never leave. I work in a doctor's office that sits beside a hospital nearly 100 years old. Our building is newer, only 10 years old, 3 floors of independent doctors and specialists, completely separate from the hospital. But behind us is the emergency room, older than the hospital itself and heavy with history. Hauntings? I wouldn't be shocked if the hospital or ER were full of them. But our building? We're at least 50 feet away. Still, that distance didn't stop whatever it is from drifting over. It all began 6 months ago. Early morning. Quiet. Not even 8 a.m. yet. The lobby door knob rattled. Not once, several times. I watched, expecting someone to walk in. No one did. I even peeked down the hallway. Empty. There's nowhere to hide up here on the 3rd floor. It's just a long, dead-end corridor. Then, just as I was telling my coworkers about it later that morning, something happened. An appointment card, one of those stiff, paper ones from the holder, lifted, flipped into the air, and landed right in front of us on the desk. We all just stared at it. After that first morning, little things kept happening. The kind that make you question if you're imagining it. It started with voices. Murmuring, echoing, down the stairwell. Muffled, like 2 people having a quiet conversation. but no one would be there. I'd check. Every single time. Empty stairs. No footsteps. No signs of anyone. Except sometimes, there were footsteps. I'd be walking down and hear someone behind me, or above me. But when I stopped to listen, the sound stopped too. I wasn't the only one who heard it. My co-workers noticed it too. One of them saw the TV in the lobby turn on by itself. It flicked through channels, paused, then turned off. We were at lunch. No one had touched the remote. It was in a drawer. And the TV? Not a smart one, just a basic old screen with no Wi-Fi. It kept escalating. One day, our office chairs rolled on their own. Just a few inches, but enough to notice. We all saw it. Nobody was near them. The air was still. Then it was the coffee table in the lobby. Once in the morning, again in the afternoon, we heard it move. A slow dragging sound, like heavy wood scraping across the floor. Both times, the table was shifted just slightly off its usual spot. No one touched it. We just look at each other, silently asking the same thing. Did you see that? Tonight, it crossed a line. It had been storming all day, thunder rolling, lightning flashing against the windows. Most of the building had cleared out early. I was the last to leave. Instead of using the usual stairs, I took the opposite stairwell at the far end of the hallway. It felt safer, less exposed somehow. I was about 3/4 of the way down when I heard rapid footsteps behind me. Fast, heavy, close. I froze. I knew there was no one else in that hallway. Still, I looked back. Nothing. But the footsteps stopped instantly the moment I turned. I picked up the pace, heart pounding. Just as I passed the second floor landing, the door above me, the one on the third floor, slammed open and then banged shut with force. I couldn't move. The sound echoed down the stairwell, shaking my nerves. And then I screamed. Not a yelp, not a gasp. A real, raw scream. My instincts kicked in. I waited a moment, holding the rail, my legs locked in place. Then I ran. As I reached the bottom floor, I heard the door above slam open again. Louder this time. There may have been footsteps, too, but I couldn't tell if they were mine or something else chasing me. I didn't stop to find out. I ran outside, into the storm, soaked, breathless, and trembling. And now, tomorrow looms. I have to go in early, alone. 30 full minutes of silence and shadows before anyone else arrives. And yes, the storms are expected to return. And yes, I'll have to take the stairs. I've never been more scared to go to work in my life. I was in my early 20s, young, broke, and irresponsible with money. So when my close friend invited me on a vacation to Jamaica with her family, I slapped it on my credit card. Raised in an atheist household, I didn't believe in souls, spirits, or ghosts, nothing beyond what you could see and touch. The first few days in Jamaica were perfect. My friend and I stayed in a hut on stilts, overlooking the ocean. It was serene, like paradise. But midway through the trip, we had to switch rooms. Our hut had been booked by someone else. The resort moved us into the great house. It sounded luxurious, a bigger space with 3 bedrooms and a kitchen. We could still hear the waves and feel the salty air, even if we were set back from the beach. When we arrived, we explored the house. The first bedroom we entered was small, with a single twin bed. Something about it felt wrong. The air was heavy. It was dark, cold, unsettling. My friend said she felt the same. We rationalized it. Bad feng shui, dark artwork, maybe the bed felt too exposed. We laughed it off. That night, I slept in the largest bedroom in the house. It had a stunning canopy bed, a breezy ensuite bathroom, windows open to the ocean's hum. But despite all that beauty, I felt absolutely terrified. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. No logical reason, just pure fear. I kept the lights on all night and slept fitfully, barely able to rest. The next morning, I told my friend how scared I'd felt. She offered me her queen bed the next night, and I gladly took her up on it. We moved on with our day, thinking the worst was behind us. That evening, we threw a little birthday party for my friend's sister. Everyone gathered at the big dining table in the center of the house. Suddenly, I saw someone walk through the front door into the room. I looked up to see who it was, but no one was there. Before I could say a word, my friend's father looked at me and said, "Someone just walked into the room." My friend added, "Yeah, I noticed too." We all felt quiet. But again, I brushed it off. Maybe we'd all felt a breeze or heard something subconsciously. I refused to believe in ghosts. I wouldn't believe. That night, I shared my friend's bed. We laughed and chatted until she drifted off into sleep. I stayed awake, not scared, just not tired yet. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, pacing footsteps coming from above us. The problem? The house didn't have a second floor, not even an attic. The steps moved back and forth from the bathroom area to the bedroom door, over and over again. I checked for explanations. There was no wind, trees outside were still. The window was open. No screen. If it had been wind, I'd have felt it. No one else was staying in the house. The resort was gated. No one could just sneak in. And even if they did, why climb up and pace the roof at 3 a.m.? I listened. For hours. The steps would stop, pause, and resume. At one point, I screamed in my mind, "Go away." And in direct response, the steps got louder, focused, right above my head. My whole body tingled. I knew it then, deep in my bones. Like recognizing a loved one's voice. I knew. This is real, I thought. This is a ghost. And I knew I'd try to rationalize it later, but I begged myself to remember this feeling, that I knew it was real, that this was real. Eventually, exhaustion won, and I drifted into a troubled sleep. I dreamed I was floating above my own body, rising toward the ceiling. Around me, a soft, glowing blue light. When I woke, my friend was already stirring. She turned to me and said casually, "There was a spirit in the room last night. It was right there." She pointed to the corner, right above my head. My heart stopped. She had no idea what I'd experienced. She hadn't heard the footsteps, but she knew. My friend believed in the supernatural, but it didn't scare her. I envied that. I wished I wasn't so terrified. Later that day, I told her dad everything, the footsteps, the blue light, the terror. He chuckled and said he'd spoken to the owners that morning. He asked if the place was haunted because of his own experience the night before, seeing someone enter the room. The owners had confirmed it. They believed it was the spirit of the former resort owner, who had been murdered in front of the great house a decade earlier. The last 2 nights passed without incident, but I never forgot. 30 years later, I visited my friend. I asked her if she remembered what happened in Jamaica. She laughed and said, "Of course I do." I asked her to retell it, without me saying a word. Her version matched mine exactly. And I still remember it, too. That moment, that knowing, that one night when I, the atheist skeptic, met something I couldn't explain. I may not always believe, but I remember. I remember what it felt like. I remember knowing. It was real.